Our iPhone is equipped with emergency alert, feature that will alert us in case there is a flood warning, national emergency, or anything that poses a risk to our lives. Emergency broadcast system used to quickly and automatically disseminate information from the government to the public via satellite and an array of equipment set up nationwide in case of natural disasters, missile launched, terrorist attack, military attack, earthquake and tsunami, volcanic eruption, and weather emergency in tornado, flood, specific river flood levels. So it is important to keep our iPhone alert ready, particularly missile launches. I realized that the government urged people to take shelter inside buildings or underground. So we need to check whether the shelter building is. The health effects of nuclear explosions are due primarily to air blast, thermal radiation, inside nuclear radiation, and residual nuclear radiation or fallout. Nuclear detonations released a large amount of neutron and gamma radiation. Relative to other effects, initial radiation is an important cause of casualty only for low-yield explosion. An eye for an eye, a teeth for teeth. Set a thief to catch a thief. Contrarily, cure contraries. Political fight fire with fire. Fight one evils with another. The smell of garlics takes away the smells of onions. This expresses the belief that an effective way to deal with wrongdoers is for oneself to become the wrongdoer. Occasionally, these tactics may have good result, but I feel that emulating those who do wrong is not usually the best choice. The current world of rising nuclear dangers and an international system that has become more secure by divesting itself of all nuclear weapons. It would sound like take forever. Maybe we should stop this before we go too far, or maybe nuclear weapons will remain unused in the world. The rising danger of nuclear terrorism have made clear the risk of a business-as-usual approach to nuclear issues, to achieving the nuclear-free world, while recognizing that this long-term goal will require a new emphasis on arms controls and conflict resolution measures. Possibilities to make world safer from the nuclear weapons, short of banning them outright. The current draft of the Nuclear Ban Treaty is unlikely to lead to nuclear disarmament because it does not address the fundamental issues related to verifications. The absence of such provisions makes states unlikely to join and comply with the previous provisions of the treaty. Yet, alternatives to the nuclear ban are not only present, but also readily available and not at all tested. Nuclear weapons are nothing but a reaction to the security dilemma states face. When the rich, clever, makes a war, makes danger, nuclear weapons, it's always the poor that die and suffering from injuries. Radiation poisonings and economic deprivations. We needed to take the steps necessary to construct the world in which leaders and citizens no longer need fears a nuclear attack by either terrorists or enemy states. It is unfair. How long would it be before nuclear weapons were detonated? If those who made create the atomic bomb and used it are ready to abandon it, and other nuclear power that officially or unofficially possess it, they will facilitate these processes in every possible way. Even if all the world's nuclear weapons disappeared tomorrow, the nuclear that would not end, because the materials, knowledges used to build the weapons would still be available there. No verification systems, no matter how intrusive, could absolutely rule out cheatings or guarantee that a nation would not try to hide a small number of nuclear devices or the means to construct some rapidly. The continuing deterioration of the non-proliferation regime, the sudden emergence of North Korea as a nuclear weapons state and of Iran as a potential weapon state, concerned about the stability of another new nuclear power, Pakistan, and deliberations about the nuclear weapons programs in Libya and Syria have all raised great concerns. Given the vulnerability of the great powers to terrorist bombings, over time, the consequences would spread as radioactive debris. Debris was carried into the atmosphere. The ill effect on the health of far-flung pollutions would endure for generation and the next generation. Japan, as a sole country to have suffered nuclear attacks, has a responsibility to take the lead in the campaign towards nuclear disarmament. There has been a recently confirmed finding that the Japanese survivors are experiencing the statistically significant increase in the occurrence of a number of non-cancer diseases, increasing hypertension, myocardial infarctions, thyroid diseases, cataracts, chronic liver diseases, and cirrhosis, and in females, uterine myoma. There has been a negative response in the current of glaucoma. The Treaty of the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons or Nuclear Weapon Ban Treaty is the first legally binding international agreement to comprehensively prohibit nuclear weapons, with the goal of leading towards their total elimination. The achievement of a nuclear weapon-free world, how an agreement would be governed, verified, monitored, and enforced, and how nations could be assured that nuclear materials utilized for civilian purposes would not be diverted for use as weapons. Nuclear disarmament is the act of reducing or eliminating nuclear weapons. It can also be the end state of a nuclear weapons-free world, in which nuclear weapons are completely eliminated. The term denuclearization is also used to describe the process leading to completed nuclear disarmament. International law prohibits a state from initiating armed violence against other states, although a country has been attacked has a right to self-defense. Whether a state can use nuclear weapons in self-defense, even if the use of nuclear weapons is illegal in most cases. Use of nuclear weapons cannot be justified or moral or strategic grounds. Even if it worked, would it make the world safer? Still, the knowledge of how to build nuclear weapons could never be erased, and it would always be possible for a country to build a nuclear arsenal either surreptitious or after open withdrawing from the treaty. It is therefore essential that the treaty also included provisions to discourage the cheaters, ensure that they would not gain from their misdeeds, and make clear that anyone who tried to break out of the agreement would soon be brought to heel. The key premise behind thinking about a nuclear weapons ban, whether the ban treaty or a convention, is that such instrument would make a safer place. The thinking emerges from the line of argumentation and assumes that the nuclear weapons makes the world dangerous, not that nuclear weapons are a result of the security. However, seeking a nuclear weapon as any type of armament, chemical weapon, biological, virus weapons, is usually at least initially spurred by security concerns. Civil nuclear power has not been the cause of or route to nuclear weapons in any country that has nuclear weapons, and no uranium is traded for electricity productions has ever been diverted for military use. All nuclear weapons programs have either preceded or arisen independently of civil nuclear power, as shown most recently by North Korea. No country is without the plenty of uranium and the small quantities needed for a few weapons. There is no chance that the resurgent problems of nuclear weapons proliferation will be solved by turning away from nuclear power or ceasing trade in the tens of thousands of tons each year needed for it. Practitioners of arms control negotiation have acknowledged that the issue of their verification is often fuzzy and is among the most crucial but also most difficult negotiated. Policy experts, however, also agree that the verification and monitoring of compliance is a key element for evaluating whether a certain provision of arms control law is effective or not. This is why most of the account of the nuclear disarmament and operations spend a significant amount of space in the discussion about the need for verification. That the ban would lead to global nuclear disarmament, and the existing situation would put premium on cheating in international politics. Quite simply, the party that would somehow cheat on the existing agreement and manage to keep its hold on nuclear weapons, or the ability to construct them at very short notice, could hold that world hostage. The news has not been all good. Witness India, Pakistan, anxieties over North Korea and Israel, effort by Iraqi and others to harness the atom, and now a nuclear threat. Hundreds of metric tons of nuclear materials in the former Soviet Union, much of its susceptible to theft. What can we do to prevent the next Hiroshima? Countries that considered acquiring nuclear weapons but instead renounced the bomb. Nuclear decision-making reflected international concerns. Today's country's decision to pursue or forego nuclear weapons depends less on international power politics and more on contest between the domestic armaments, army versus air forces, treasury versus atomic energy commissions, prime minister versus cabinet rivals. Preventing the spread of nuclear weapons depended on building institutions. These institutions can be international, scientific organizations that host professional ethics, politics parties opposed to proliferation, non-governmental organizations that promoted transparency. New initiatives are needed, particularly in countries listed with the nuclear question. Today, most money spent on non-proliferation is spent in the United States. In India and Pakistan and North and South Korea and Israel and Taiwan, and half a dozen other countries that possess nuclear weapons or that might seek refuge and atom. There are conflicts elsewhere in the world, but in all these cases, the interdependencies of the great power makes armed conflict between them extremely unlikely, whether or not they had nuclear weapons legally or illegally, with any reasons. A world without nuclear weapons would be a world in which countries would have here targets mobilization plan to rebuild nuclear weapons and mobilize or command delivery systems, and would have prepared targets to preempt other nations' nuclear facility, all in a high alert status, with practices drills and secure emergency communications. Every crisis would be a nuclear crisis anywhere could become the nuclear war. The urge to preempt it would dominate. Whoever gets the first few weapons will coerce or preempt. It would be the nervous word. The challenge is to translate this enthusiastic rhetoric and vision into the practical steps necessary to move decisively towards elimination of all nuclear weapons from all nations within a reasonable period of time. The nuclear zero world would be not only a world with high readiness to produce a weapon, but also a world where the expertise exists. If one remembers the discussion about the different difficulties is to obliterate Iran's nuclear programs through military means to remember that destruction of a weapon and limitation of facilities does not lead automatically to a peace of mind about ambitions related to nuclear weapons. Essentially, a country can get very close to having a nuclear weapon capability without building a nuclear weapon. The complete nuclear disarmament would be highly unlikely to make the world more stable. On the opposite, it would give premium to state cheating on their commitments. With well-known impact of the use of nuclear weapons, which the proponents of the ban are very well aware of, the ability to prevail in bargainings would be significant, with missing or weak verification and the benefit of defecting a country's commitment. It may therefore mean that nuclear disarmament, if divorced from addressing the underlying security dilemma, may actually increase instability, contrary to the prediction by the proponents. About the nuclear ban treaty is the culmination of a humanitarian initiative, arguably the most important development within the non-proliferation regime over the past review cycle. Supporters see such treaty as the first step to forcing countries possessing nuclear weapons to disarm. They argued that the ban treaty is a bad idea because it would neither strengthen the norms nor make the world a safer place. Instead, it would weaken the positions of international law and put premium on cheating on international commitment. Such outcome would not be beneficial, neither for those wishing to do away with the risk of nuclear weapons, nor for the stability of the international system. The alternative is to work on next disarmament step. The further reduction is a stockpiles associated with the alerting of existing nuclear weapons and the creation of more trust among the nuclear weapons states. The alerting and the encouragement for no first use commitments by nuclear weapons states would decrease the military utility of nuclear weapons in the eyes of the militaries. Progress and nuclear weapons cannot be spreaded from the progress on conventional disarmament. If the nuclear zero is to make the world safer, conventional disarmament must be made part of the discussion. Therefore, it makes no sense to limit activities within the field to nuclear armament only. We already saw about why nuclear weapons have not been used for more than 60 years, despite the many wars involving nuclear powers. They're possessed by one country possibly deters their use by another. There never was a good war or a bad peace. The real and lasting victories are those of peace and not of war. Never think that war, no matter how necessary, nor how justified, is not a crime. Stop for yes, wait a minute, Mr. Postman. Yay, 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 Mr. Postman. But Mr. Postman, you can see, oh yeah, if there's a letter in your box for me, Mr. Postman. Oh yeah, there must be some word today from my boyfriend so far away. Pray, Mr. Postman, you can see. If there's a letter for me. I've been standing here waiting, Mr. Postman, so patiently. Or just a card, or just a letter. Say here's a down form to me and Mr. Postman. Oh, yeah. Please, Mr. Postman. Oh yeah, hold me to hear from the postman. So many days you passed me by. I see the tears standing at my eyes. You didn't stop to make me feel better by leaving me a card or letter, please, Mr. Man. Oh yeah, if there's a letter in your bag for me, why is it taking such a long time? Why don't you check it and see? One more time for me. You gotta wait a minute, wait a minute. Wait a minute, wait a minute. Ooh, Mr. Postman. Come on, deliver the letter. The sooner the better. I will contact you as soon as I arrive at airport. See you soon. Take care. Have a nice day. Bye.